Welcome back, Tamriel adventurers, and today's video is all about crafting in the Elder Scrolls Online. It is huge, massive, extensive, all the other words that mean really, really big, but it's actually a good thing though, because it's an incredibly useful skill to master. So I'm going to break it down for you so you know where to start, how to get an understanding of each of the crafting disciplines, and you can get cracking towards becoming a master crafter. But first, we need to start with the basics. In ESO, there are 7 crafting disciplines that you can learn. Blacksmithing is the crafting of heavy armour and melee-based weapons, and you use metal ingots you acquire or refine from ores you can collect around Tamriel. Clothing is the crafting of light and medium armours, and that uses cloth or leather materials that you acquire or refine from the different threads or hides you collect. Woodworking is the crafting of wooden-based weapons, so bows and staffs, as well as shields, and you use planks that you can acquire or refine from the rough lumber that you can find out and about when you're adventuring. Enchanting is the use of runestones to craft glyphs that can be used to enhance your armour, weapons or jewellery. And these glyphs are created from 1 potency rune, 1 essence rune and 1 aspect rune. A potency rune decides the level of the glyph created and whether it adds something or subtracts something. An essence rune actually dictates the actual type of glyph it's going to be, so a glyph of health, for example. And the aspect rune dictates what quality the rune is, so white, green, blue, purple, gold from lowest to highest. Alchemy is the crafting of potions and poisons, utilising a base solvent, so water for potions or oils for poisons, and you mix it with either 2 or 3 reagents to give you the potion or poison its characteristics. Reagents can be plants, mushrooms and other items that can be mixed successfully. Provisioning is the craft of making food and drinks with various benefits to health, magicka and stamina max stats and or recovery. Recipe for foods and drinks are obtained through collection, questing or purchase, and they also come in green, blue, purple and gold qualities. And finally, jewellery crafting. Now this was added with the Somerset chapter and is the only crafting discipline that requires you to have any DLC unlocked to be able to use it. You will not be able to interact with a jewellery table unless you have access to that DLC. But the actual crafting itself is the creation of amulets and rings using rare metal commodities collected or refined out in Tamriel. Without the DLC, you can still collect those materials, you just can't use them. Now, I don't want to go into any detail about this, but it's worth mentioning that you are able to craft furnishings for your player home. It's not a separate skill line, more like an extension of all the current skill lines, but does require specific plans or recipes so you can craft those items at crafting tables. And there's going to be more on this in a future video, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. You level each of those crafting skill lines through a special kind of experience points called inspiration, and you get inspiration by crafting items, deconstructing items that you might find from questing or out fighting enemies, by refining the raw materials you collect into usable crafting materials, and by completing crafting writs. And again, there's going to be more about that in a subsequent crafting video. But crafting starts with collecting materials, and you can do that in a number of different ways. There are nodes, resource nodes, present all over Tamriel, and when interacting with one, you harvest raw materials plus maybe some bonus materials from them. You can collect items from looting containers such as barrels, sacks and crates, and they often yield really useful crafting materials, especially for provisioning. When you're out and about fighting enemies, killing them can often drop you some really useful crafting materials. This includes things like raw hide leathers from animals and poison solvents from some enemies. You can deconstruct the items that you collect on your adventures. This includes blacksmithing, clothing, woodworking and jewellery, if you can, obviously. And this also includes enchanting, because when you find glyphs on your travels and adventures, you can deconstruct them or extract the runes potentially from them. You cannot deconstruct potions or poisons or food to yield any materials. You can buy materials for crafting from merchants linked to blacksmithing, clothing, woodworking, etc., but also from guild traders that other players have listed for sale. And one of the best ways that you then use these raw materials that you've collected is to refine them into useful materials for crafting. And you do this by interacting with the appropriate crafting table, choosing refine, and then when you've got 10 raw materials to refine, you're able to go through that process. Personally, I like to save up at least a few so I can do it all at once rather than doing it bit by bit. So now you know where to collect items and what to do with those raw materials to make them able to be used in your crafting. The next thing I want to do is focus on armour and weapons, because we're going to talk about traits. Now, any weapon and armour can be crafted with a specific trait, and these are bonuses you can add to any crafted piece that provide extra benefits. We're going to start with armour, and I'm going to put a list on the screen right now of all the armour traits, the specific gem you need to apply that trait to a piece of armour, and the benefit it applies to your armour. There are slightly different traits that can be applied to weapons though, and I'm going to put another list on the screen right now. I mean, there's some of the same traits there, like training, again, increases experience gained using that weapon. But there are things like sharpened, which increases your armour and spell penetration. And one of the most popular at the moment is precise. It increases your weapon and spell critical values. So to craft an item with a specific trait, you must first research that trait, and this is done in the research section of the crafting table menu. The first few traits will not take long to research at all, but the last one can take over 2 months if you don't have any of the skill passives activated that can reduce the time to research items. There are also in-game items which can reduce research time, which can be collected from daily login rewards, crown crates, or in-game rewards. The first trait is always going to take 6 hours, and that is not game time, that is real life time. If you log off, it will still be researching, and if you log back in 6 hours later, that research time will be done. Now, trait research is really important because to craft items from a craftable set, you also need to have learnt a given amount of traits for the item, including the specific trait you want to craft it in. So learning traits from early in your game is a real huge benefit to becoming a master crafter. To fully research all traits for one type of armour with no passives or scrolls in use at all is 128 days. Now, a lot of craftable sets require you to only know about 3, possibly up to 5 traits on each item before being able to craft it. But there are a few that require you to have researched all 9 traits on that item before you can craft it in that set. When you craft an item, you also need to use a style material to determine what the item looks like. ESO fashion, baby. To do this, you also need to learn how to craft in a specific style by learning the motif for that style. Now, they come in 2 different types. For example, they come in motif books, and each of the player race styles are lootable as whole books coloured blue. But there are also super rare drops of gold motif books containing all 14 pages from a specific style in one. Normally though, you will collect motif pages, which are purple. Other styles which require you to acquire each of the motif page separately and collecting all 14 to be able to craft everything in that style. And some motifs actually require you to be level 10 in crafting disciplines before you can even learn it. Each style has a specific style material you also need to collect to be able to craft an item in that style, and this is often collected by deconstructing items that are in that style, but also you find them in chests and as quest rewards, especially daily quest rewards. And good news, you automatically know the racial style for the race of your character from day one, so you can always start your crafting as early as day one. Now, once you've created an item or have picked up an item that you want to use, you can improve its quality using tempers, tannins, and other improvement items. As we have mentioned before, there are 5 quality levels in ESO: white, green, blue, purple, and gold. Gold being the best quality. On your chosen crafting station, you identify the chosen item you want to improve, and you use a number of the improvement materials based on a percentage chance to be successful in that improvement. Obviously, 100% is always preferred, because if it fails, you lose all those improvement items and the original item that you're trying to improve. Raising the quality of an item improves the stats of that item and the trait it has as well, so it's really worth doing, especially when you find an item you really want to stick with. So as you earn skill points throughout the game, you want to spend some of them in your crafting skill lines as well as on your combat skills. And this is why I push really hard for people to collect sky shards while they're out and about adventuring, because you have to invest skill points in your crafting skill lines to be able to craft with higher level materials, which in turn makes the gear higher level itself. You can also unlock some really important passives, which mean you can research more than one item at any time, you can yield more from deconstructing items, and you can speed up your research, as well as requiring less improvement materials for a 100% success chance. The other thing in each of the skill lines is you can get hirelings, and one of the benefits is that levelling up your crafting skill lines is you unlock a daily delivery of materials direct to your in-game mail by these hirelings. Another benefit is a passive skill called Keen Eye, and what that does, it basically makes resource nodes easier to see out in the world by giving them a glowing aura. Now, if you've watched my recent video about console add-ons and some of the ones that I love, this has become less important in the game now, but it's still worth considering if you're not wanting to use add-ons at all. Now, we want to make all our crafted weapons, armour and jewellery the best we possibly can, and we should also add a glyph to them using the Enchanting skill line to do this. We make glyphs by merging a potency rune, an essence rune and an aspect rune together at the Enchanting table. Now, potency runes are available at every 5 levels, from 5 up to 50, and then at champion point increments up to champion 160, which is the max. And there is an additive potency rune and also a subtractive potency rune at each level as well. Essence runes dictate what type of glyph it will be, and aspects runes dictate the quality of the glyph. And like we said before, white, green, blue, purple, gold. The easiest way to level up Enchanting is to deconstruct glyphs you collect, also called extraction, and you also earn inspiration when you craft glyphs and discover what each of the runes means. So experimentation is really beneficial to learning all the different types of runes that you've collected. So a little summary about armour and weapon crafting. You need the correct number of refined materials required to craft your item. You need the skill level in the crafting discipline to craft the level of the item that you need. You need to have researched the trait you wish to apply to the item, and you need to have researched the minimum number of traits to craft that item from a set. You also need to have learned the crafting motive for the style you wish to craft your item in, and you need the style material itself for the style you wish to craft. You also need to improve the item to your chosen quality using tempers and tannins, and then you need to craft a glyph to enchant your item that you've created. Now, that sounds really complicated, but I promise you, you will soon get the hang of it. if you just experiment. There's no getting things wrong with crafting, and I do encourage everybody to get involved in it as early as possible. So jewellery crafting is very similar to blacksmithing, clothing and woodworking. However, there are only 5 levels of materials and there are a lot less traits that you need to learn if you have access to jewellery crafting through the DLC. However, the improvement materials are a lot harder to come by and you need to find more of the raw materials to create any of the ounces that you need to craft. It's still worth doing if you have access to the DLC, because being able to craft your own jewellery is really important, especially when setting up craftable sets if you want to use them at any point in the game. Okay, let's move on to alchemy, and learning and progressing your alchemy skill line is a little bit different. So first you need to start learning the 4 attributes of each reagent by attempting to make a potion or poison, combining 2 reagents with a solvent. And you can actually learn one of the 4 reagent attributes by eating the reagent as well to get you started. To level up the skill line, you must make potions or poisons. Make sure you avoid inert potions or poisons because it means the reagents don't work together. As you progress and apply skill points into the alchemy skill line, you will be able to create potions and poisons using 3 reagents, yielding more complex potions and poisons as well. It is actually possible to level alchemy really quickly if you already know what combinations of reagents work together and have enough of the cheaper reagents to bash out a high number of potions or poisons. So there are some real benefits to learning alchemy, and it's actually important for combat as well because there is a passive called medicinal use that extends the life of all your potions by up to 30%, which means that some of your potions can pretty much be permanent if timed well in combat. So let's move on to provisioning, and being able to craft your own food and drinks in ESO is highly advantageous. I've just started a brand new account and character, and other than 1 crown food item I received as a level up reward, no other food has been collected easily as yet, so crafting my own has become a priority on that new account. And you craft food and drinks at a cooking fire, which are dotted all about Tamriel, but mainly you can find them in pubs in major towns and cities. For provisioning, you need to be on the hunt for recipes found out while adventuring or as rewards for quests, etc. But you can also purchase some recipes from the chef and brewer NPCs located in the major cities somewhere near the cooking fire. Whilst hunting for recipes, you also want to make sure you're looting crates, barrels, baskets, sacks and all those kind of places, as they're the main places to collect provisioning materials. As with everything in ESO, recipes come in different qualities as well. That can affect 1 or more of the attributes, your health, magicka and stamina. Green recipes improve 1 attribute, blue improves 2 attributes, and purple improves 3 attributes. And gold recipes vary their improvements of attributes and often include a special bonus alongside that as well. Food recipes primarily involve improving your maximum stats, or your maximum attributes, and drink recipes primarily involve improving your recoveries. Now there are also some special or gourmet recipes out there. There are exceptions to all these rules, and you get these from events or specific quests, and they combine a mix of max stat improvements and recoveries and some lovely special bonuses as well. Now, most provisioning recipes are level specific, meaning the resulting food or drink can only be consumed at a certain level or above. However, there are some really good specific recipes known as delicacies that can be collected from regular events or quests that are not level specific, and any character of any level can use them. They level up with you as you go. There are a few specific ones that I think are the real MVP when leveling a new character, because you don't have to change the food or drink every hour or so when you've leveled up 5 or 10 levels. Instead, you can use that food from level 1 right the way through to champion 160 if you want, and maybe even beyond that because they are that good. And my standout recipes for this when leveling characters focusing on stamina or magicka are Witchmother's Potent Brew. It only requires recipe improvement rank number 1 as well. It's got some easily acquired ingredients and it comes from the Witches Festival around Halloween, and if we've already missed that, then you can often find the recipe for sale in Guild Traders. And that increases max magicka, max health and magicka recovery for 2 hours. There's a stamina version of that called Dubious Cameron Throne. Again, very similar basic ingredients. Requires recipe improvement rank number 1, so easily craftable early on. And this recipe comes from the Jesters Festival, which is normally around April Fools. It increases max stamina, max health, and stamina recovery. Now, if you're interested in increasing all 3 of your attributes, then my suggestion for you would be Bewitched Sugar Skulls, which increases your max health, max stamina, and max magicka, but also your health recovery for 2 hours, and it scales on your level. Only requires recipe improvement rank 1 to use it, and again, the ingredients are not that difficult to come by. This one comes from the Witches Festival around Halloween as well. And again, if you can't find these recipes, you'll definitely find someone who can craft some of this food for you. And so that is my basic introduction to crafting in ESO. There's some real good takeaways that I think I'm just going to repeat for you here, and that is to start your trait research on clothing, blacksmithing and woodworking, and if you can, on jewellery crafting as early as possible in the game. You can pick your items up and research them, and you can store some in the bank if you want to keep them. It's really easy to identify the ones that you can research or need to research, because in your inventory they have a little magnifying glass next to them if you need to research that item. You can deconstruct items that you pick up on your adventures at any of the crafting tables, and also you can experiment in alchemy and enchanting to increase your skill lines. And don't forget, it's so important because all these crafting skill lines will need a number of skill points to unlock all the benefits to go out and collect your sky shards while you're adventuring as well. Don't miss out on all those juicy skill points that they give you. There's going to be a second follow-up video for this, which is going to be going a little bit deeper into all the master crafter, next level stuff. Things like crafting writs, master writs, surveys, and all things such as that. So make sure you are subscribed if you want to see that. And if you've got any value out of this video at all, please give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And if you've got any crafting tips that you think I've missed for beginners and people just starting out in ESO crafting, drop it down in the comments and we'll have a chat down there.